What is up, everybody? My name is Millinosch, and welcome to another how-to video, this time on crafting. And we're getting into that video right now. Alright, one of the first things you will want to do is get yourself familiarized with the crafting windows, and on a PC you can do that by hitting escape, and it'll open up your main inventory window as well as the sidebar here. You'll see you can scroll through that with your mouse wheel, and you'll see different items that you can make based on the stuff that is in your inventory. And as you can see, we have now crafted some torches based on, once again, the stuff that is in my inventory already. Now, how did we know how to make those torches? Well, that requires an additional step of talking to the guide. The guide is going to be very helpful in your journey in crafting, and one of the very first things you want to do is walk over to your guide and talk to him. And once you do that, you'll see a crafting button that shows up. You'll hit that crafting button, and it'll actually open up a similar menu to what you saw before. And what you want to do is drop an item right into the box. So in this case, we'll grab the wood, drop it in there, and it actually shows us every single item that can be crafted with wood. Now, this can get rather tedious, trying to go through every single item in here like this with your scroll wheel. You can see right here all the different items you can make, but yet again, kind of a hard view in my opinion to work with. So you can hit this hammer, which will open a different type of crafting window. Now, it is important to note that all the items you see here are items that can be crafted with wood. However, they're not items that you can currently craft. You can actually see, once you select an item, that you can see what the recipe is and what's needed. So in this case, we need to figure out exactly what items we need to have to make the blacksmith rack, which is what we have highlighted here. And we can actually look here, we need 12 wood and 3 iron bars to make the blacksmith rack. And of course, you see right here, it says required objects, sawmill. And what that's basically saying is, in order to craft this item, we also need a certain crafting station called a sawmill. Now, let's get into what crafting stations are. All right, so as we start, you'll see that I went ahead and crafted our very first crafting station, which is a workbench. The workbench can be made directly out of your inventory. You don't need any other crafting stations or anything like that. And to craft this, you typically need 10 of any type of wood. So that being said, the workbench is the crafting station that you need. That is the base for every other crafting station in the game. All right, so once you are standing in front of the workbench, you can actually open your inventory and it'll actually give you a basic readout of everything that you can craft with the things that you currently have in your inventory. So as you can see here right now, we can make some wood armor, we could make some platforms, a table, a chair, etc. You can see those all in this menu right here. But it only is telling you what you can make currently with the items in your inventory. So the next crafting station that we would like to tackle is actually called the furnace. The furnace will allow us to make bars from ore. So we know that we need wood to make the furnace. And as you can see, if you look through this entire inventory, it is here somewhere. You just have to find it. Let's see, and right there. There's the cooking pot, heavy workbench. There's a lot of different things you can make here, but the furnace is right there. So we can go ahead and click on it, and it's going to tell us exactly what we need to actually make the furnace. So we click on that, and it actually tells us that it requires the workbench, which is very important, as well as it looks like it requires some other things. 20 stone block, 4 wood, and 3 torches. And as you remember from earlier, we did go ahead and make some torches out of gel and wood. So once you have all the materials in your inventory to make the furnace, all you have to do is open the crafting window, find the item you want to make, in this case a furnace. You'll click on the item and you can place it in your inventory, or you can go ahead and place it where you want it. In this case, we're not building a house, so we're just going to place it right here on the ground. And that is our second crafting station that is going to allow us to further advance in the rest of the crafting. Since there are so many different types of crafting stations, we're not going to go through each one individually. Instead, I am going to list each one and show you on the screen the anvil, the placed bottle, the alchemy table, the sawmill, the loom, the table and chair, the workbench and chair, the cooking pot / cauldron, the tinker's workshop, the imbuing station, and the dye vat. And last, as you see here, we have the Crimson Altar, as well as in a moment we'll show the Demon Altar. Both are spawned into the world in random places inside your Corruption and or Crimson, in this case Crimson, where you will be able to craft certain spawn items for bosses, as well as the Knight's Edge Sword. Now, it is important to note that the reason you're seeing me underground in the Crimson for this is because these cannot be moved. You must actually find them in your world. Here we see the Corruption equivalent. This is the Demon Altar, which also can be used the exact same as the Crimson Altar to create certain boss spawns, as well as the Knight's Edge Sword. So those are the Crimson and Demon Altars. Alright, so here it is, all of the pre-hard mode crafting stations. The workbench, furnace, anvil, bottle and alchemy table, sawmill, loom, table and chair, workbench, cooking pot / cauldron, tinker's workshop, imbuing station, dye vault, and the demon / crimson altar, which we showed a minute ago. Obviously, we can't point them out here. And now to move on to the hard mode crafting stations. You have the mithril anvil and the orichalcum anvil, depending on your world. The adamantite and titanium forge, which once again, depending on your world, will depend on which one you have. The bookcase. The crystal ball, which is used to craft the endless quiver and the endless musket pouch, as well as several other types of block. The auto hammer. And last but not least, the ancient manipulator. And these are every single one of the crafting stations that you can find in the game. There are a few exceptions to this, but these are for the most part the ones that you will find. And it must be stated at this point that if you use every single one of these crafting stations that you see here, you will actually get an achievement called Crafty. So congratulations on getting your achievement. Alright, and now it's time to move on to some multi-crafting areas. These are a progression and efficient way to lay out your crafting stations at certain parts of the game in order to be very efficient in your crafting. Now, I must tell you that these all came directly from the Terraria.gamepedia.com webpage, and I will give you a link below to exactly what I'm describing. This first one is described as a very efficient pre-hard mode crafting area, with every station needed to progress to hard mode, including a table to make a watch. Simply stand on the workbench, as you see here, to access all surrounding crafting stations and chests. The second one is also a pre-hard mode / post-dungeon upgrade from the previous crafting area. Once the player has an alchemy table, crimstone blocks are used to surround the single tile of water to prevent losing the water from accidental hits with a strong pickaxe. Note the wooden platform at the top of the water. This allows the extra chest to be placed in such a tight area. And now moving on to the third one, this is described as an efficient end-game crafting area with more chests. Also added is a table and chair for making watches and timers. So as you can see, there are a couple different options here. There are also some other examples you can find. I will link that page for you all to see, so you can check all the different types of efficient ways of laying out your crafting areas for your run. And lastly, I want to point out that there are some progression prerequisites when you are making some of these stations, in which case you can see on your screen for the pre-hard mode, you have the workbench, which is needed to make the table and chair, as well as the furnace, which is needed to make the anvil, which is needed to make the sawmill, which is needed to make the loom, and last but not least, you have the hell forge, which you don't need a loom to make the hell forge, but the Hellforge typically does come after all the others. And of course, not to be left out, we have the hard mode progression prerequisites as well, which would be the anvil, followed by the forge, and then followed by the ancient manipulator, which is of course dropped by the lunatic cultists. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you craft in Terraria. Of course, there is so much more to cover as far as crafting, but we'll cover that in a future video. Once again, my name is Millinosch. You can catch me over at twitch.tv/Millinosch, and we will see you next time.